Hi, I'm Jessica Snow. I'm here with Michael Kass, the great Michael Kass. Michael is my breathwork teacher, and we both love breathing, and we also both love stories and the power of story. And so that's why I wanted to have Michael here with me today. I'm going to ask him some questions so you can get to know him and what he does, and also maybe awaken to the power of story in your own life.
Whoa.
It's a lot. We're going to do it in 5 minutes. How does storytelling create magic or a magic moment or a transformation or, lead you to that kind of triumphant place?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, there's a large amount of when you're doing it right, you're touching something that's deeply human,
right,
and ancient and goes way beyond your specific experience. So that's where the magic is for me. If you mine deep enough, because the story isn't about the things that happen,
right?
It's about the deep human needs, the deep desires, the deep wants, joys, losses, all of those things. So the magic happens when we mine our life for those. We accept it, we reconcile ourselves to it, and then we share it. And it's so brave. And I teach these classes and these people get up there and they share stuff. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like watching people jump off a cliff.
Yeah, but they can do that because you're providing a container for that experience and the structure, which then I think lets people go even deeper than they would maybe on their own.
Totally.
And I think also the power of the group facilitates that ability to I'm gonna go for it.
Oh yeah, people tribe up, right? Like within 2 hours, they're so supportive of each other.
Okay. So here's a strange question, and I'll explain it as well as I can. I believe that you can't, even if you're trying to quote unquote make something up, you really can't. And what I mean by that is because it's always coming from you.
Yeah.
I'll give a small example. And so basically, let's say I say to you, I want you to go into a visualization and I want you to find 3 things. And maybe you're like, whatever on her visualization, I don't care, I'm just gonna pick apple, banana, orange, or whatever it is. And you're not really, quote unquote, diving deep, and you're just making something up, quote unquote. I always find that when you can't really make something up because that apple, banana, orange has meaning once you bring it back and start to look at it. Yeah. Does that make sense? Do you agree?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you read any fiction and then you look at the lives of the author, you're like, oh, right?
Right.
Of course you had to tell that story.
Right.
We're always trying to work out our wounds or our joys through narrative, whether it's personal narrative or fiction. Right, because if you're imagining something, it's got to come from somewhere.
It's still coming from you, right? Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad we agree on that. I feel really good about that. Why do you think it's important for modern people to reconnect with the power of storytelling?
Because we have to, biologically, we have to. We've evolved to do it. And at the same time, we are being bombarded with story from all sources all the time. From phones and digital billboards and everything around us is trying to influence our narrative. And so it's actually an incredibly empowering thing to say okay, cool, I get all that, but what's my story?
Yeah. Right.
What is the narrative that I bring to the table?
Right.
The other aspect of it is that, if you're on Gmail or Facebook or any of the internet, that all of those industries exist to abstract you from your story.
Right.
They literally want to turn you into ones and zeros, package you, and sell you to marketers.
Right.
That's how they make their money. There's nothing wrong with it. So by telling your story, the only thing they can never take away from you is your story.
Yeah.
That's it. That's really it. Take away everything else, that's what you got.
Yeah.
And so what an empowering thing to be able to do. And it's so simple. And we've sort of strayed away from it.
And it is true. I like to think about sometimes that, 150 years ago, what we would do at night is we would sit around a fire after we've all eaten and we would talk.
Yeah.
And so we were each other's TV, we were each other's movies, we were each other's, entertainment, if you will. And I think that when sometimes we'll have a fire in the backyard, and then when people are sitting around doing that, it's like you can have a very disparate group of people and there's something powerful that happens, just like in meditation when you have a group of strangers, and something amazing happens when we all get together and sit around the fire and just say whatever.
Well, it's the most ancient thing we can do.
Right.
If you think about it, reading and writing have not been around historically that long.
That's true.
Storytelling's been around as long as there have been people.
Right.
Really, we've evolved around it. So like our biology, our brains are wired to respond to it. So yeah, and especially when you're sitting around a fire, there's something, there's a kind of magic that emerges from it.
Yeah, I totally have felt that.
Yeah, just
wondrous
like
thing that happens.
people being there, and suddenly you look around, you're like, oh wow, this
feels good.
Something
It feels
really special is
good.
happening here. Yeah.
Okay, here's a question. It's probably a bigger question, but again, brevity. Do you believe that all things have meaning, and even the mundane? I mean, do you believe that if you're, say, pondering something and you're walking down the street and a feather falls in front of you, does that have meaning?
Sure, why not? I mean, you get to decide, right?
Yeah.
And so you can absolutely decide to go through life and say like, oh, a feather fell, that has nothing to do with the fact that I stubbed my toe, like whatever.
Right.
But it's more fun,
Right.
if you take all of that data. There's a ancient Greek form of divination, the name of which I'm blocking out, but basically it's you go to a natural setting of some kind and you ask a question like, should I do this interview with Jessica? Should I do this interview? Whatever it is. And then anything that happens is in some way a response to that question. And you get to interpret it. And it's just a beautiful way to reconnect with your own intuition. Right? At base level, that's what's going on.
And don't you, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Woo.
And I also think that you have like a resonant set point inside you. And I think when that set point is in a balanced place, it's like even more of the world kind of stretches itself out towards you, and even more opportunities for insight and meaning just in an ordinary moment,
Well, when you're opened up in that place and you're sort of aligned with yourself and your soul's purpose or whatever you want to call that thing, you're more receptive. You're closer to that state of flow where everything's just happening. For me, sometimes I'll be walking and I'll have a thought and I'll notice a hummingbird or a butterfly, and I'm like, oh look, magic.
Yeah.
Right? Is it? Maybe.
Yeah.
But how cool if it is?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way, honestly. Just, I want you to know that, see that radio tower right there?
I do, yeah.
Right on the other side of that is the Hollywood sign. So we really
We're
are
in Hollywood. We're in
right
Hollywood.
now. Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's a pretty big deal. No pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.